It's the new year, and that means we have to assess some new expectations. Teams who succeeded last year need to keep it up. Those who fell short of last year's expectations need to make the right adjustments and build again into the new year. I think we've got a lot of teams looking really to improve on last season where we didn't have a dominant outcome, yet we had a lot of rosters with elite players who really thought they could do better. Last year's Team of the Year, at least by consensus in the general population, the general viewer base, was Na'Vi. But they only won 4 events. Realistically, their lack of real deep talent came through in a lot of events where they just weren't able to execute the game plan to the highest level and fell short in 5 different big event group stages. That was our Team of the Year last year. I think a lot of teams should aim to do better this year. Now, I myself am a prolific doubter. I'm constantly raging against teams making terrible moves, players underperforming, going missing in big games. I'm there. I'm in the front row, throwing my popcorn, booing, making all the noise I can, and jeering these players when they don't show up. So I'm going to lay down the gauntlet. I'm going to go through a couple of teams today that have really peeved me off in the last 12 months, but who have a great opportunity here to really prove me wrong. I'll be focusing on a few individuals, but realistically, these are team-wide challenges that I really hope can be met by these organizations. It may have seemed in the last year that I was sort of anti these 2 rosters, but if you actually go through my jersey collection, they are some of the oldest and dearest I own. I'm just let down by what's been happening on the server. But before we get into all that, a quick message from a good-looking guy talking about a pretty cool website. Are you tired of looking like a chump in game? Sick of opening cases and getting trash skins? Check out Skin Club via my link in the description for a 7% deposit bonus. For gamers 18 or older, Skin Club is a case opening service who run a provably fair opening algorithm to give you truly random outcomes. Skin Club's battles mode has been upgraded, adding new things like crazy, team, and share modes just to make every roll a little more intense and a little more fun. I played a battle or 2 and managed to win some pretty crazy skins and upgraded a group of them into a gorgeous MP9 hot rod. Perfect for some gold stickers. There is an awards event going on right now, so you can earn event points just by playing on the site. These points can be redeemed for cases, skins, and entries into huge giveaways. Skin Club accept a wide variety of payment methods from cards and PayPal to skins themselves, as well as a range of crypto coins. Remember to play responsibly using the self-care tools provided, and use my link in the description to get a 7% bonus. A big thank you to Skin Club for supporting my channel. Our first team is G2. Man, I really wanted a lot more from this roster last year, and when the halfway point came along and they changed IGL from Hooksy to Snacks, I was critical, to put it lightly. I just really didn't see it working. I was not a big fan of the move, and I'm going to be honest, I don't feel like I was particularly proven wrong. Some may leap to the defense of Snacks and Taz and what they achieved and say, hey look, all these big event wins, no prestige events in there, no real year-long domination for a team that's going to have 3 of the top 10 players of last year in their midst. That's simply not good enough. It really isn't. And that was an expectation that I've had set for G2 for a long time. It's not about winning a few events. The moment you sign Nico, your window for an era opens. The fact that they haven't been able to deliver that, despite also for the first time in Nico's career having a player on the team better than him in m0NESY, was awful. And a lot of questions had to be raised. A lot of criticism had to be pointed in the direction of the coach and IGL, a duo who are incredibly unproven when they were picked up and, well, have shown that they aren't really equipped to be at the top level straight out the gate. They probably needed more time developing, understanding the nuances of the role they were going to be performing, but instead under-delivered on G2, but now have a chance to redeem themselves. Usually when a team loses Nico, it takes them quite a while to rebuild, and honestly, as his career's gone on and he's become more valuable, added more facets to his game, it's become harder and harder to replace him. It took MOUZ 7 months to win a big event. ESG Tour Mykonos was pretty cool, had a few big teams, and they beat the big teams, but it wasn't the biggest in the world. It took them 7 months to win that event after Nico left, and a complete overhaul of the roster, top to bottom. FaZe, it took them over a year to rebuild after losing Nico. They ended up in a place where they were almost basically era-defining. They were a team of the year in 2022, but 2021 was a wash. And now, sure, some of that was actually lingering Nico impact. I don't think coldzera ends up on that team if Nico doesn't want to play with him, but it's still an incredibly difficult void to fill, and has seemingly taken teams months on months at a minimum to get over it. Thankfully for Snacks and Taz, they've been left with the most stacked roster post-Nico there has ever been, We have never seen a team this loaded with talent trying to recover from the loss of such a player. We still have MOUZ on the team, probably the second best player of 2024. I think that's reasonable. MOUZ, who was at worst maybe 12th best. By my list, I think I had him 10th or 9th. You know, a truly elite rifle player, one of the best riflers in the game, and a massive game changer. I was watching a couple games actually earlier today, just, you know, between the hours of 10 and 12 in the morning, I typically spend a lot of time watching old demos, because I start going through events, like thinking about storylines, thinking about just matches that pique my interest and performances. And I was going through some old MOUZ G2 games, and I was watching MOUZ absolutely destroying someone on Dust 2. I can't remember who, but essentially it was perfect. It was a game I hadn't caught. I think it was against MOUZ Sports. And I'm just watching MOUZ open round after round up. Pistol, Galil, AK, doesn't matter what he has. He's getting an opening multi, and the rounds just fall into place after that. They still have that prodigal rifle T-side talent on their team. They just had to fill out the final spot. And I think they found probably the best partner, co-star you could ask for in Heavy God. Doesn't need to push the pace, can frag whilst playing almost static positions, incredible anchor, and a real surprise star. Like the kind of guy you don't really expect to be putting up the huge numbers in the positions he plays. That's Heavy God. They've got him on his team. All the pieces are there to again be a legitimate title-winning roster. The question is, can the rest of the organizational pieces and team pieces function? We have Snacks for the IGL, Taz coaching, and Hunter kind of having to fill in sort of hybrid support roles to make everything else work. These three are the ones who are really under duress, as it were, to steal an expression from First Things First. They love that idea of a player really being under pressure, being under duress, and those are the three guys under duress for me. Those are the guys I'm challenging. If you guys are legit tier 1 level, coach, IGL, rifler, this team should be able to win multiple events next year. I don't mean one event, you know, one run at an IEM, whatever the fuck. No, I mean multiple events, especially with so many events having weakened fields due to the proximity of scheduling, tearing talent apart. So we'll have half the top 10 here, half the top 10 there. There's no excuse. Next year has to be a multi-event winning year. Anything less than that, and it'll be intensely disappointing. And if they manage that, well, hey, I'll be the first to apologize. I'm more than happy to show contrition when I'm proven wrong. And I still don't think I have been when it comes to the Taz and Snacks duo on G2. This is a great opportunity for them to do it though. So we'll see what comes. The other team I'm perennially rooting for and frustrated by, and in 2024 it really hit a peak, is MOUZ. Now, I know them as MOUZ Sports. My jersey still has the old logo. I'd whip it out if I'd known where the hell it ended up when I moved flat. It's somewhere in one of these cupboards. But man, this team have all the pieces in all the places I'd want them. Yet still, they don't find a way to get it done. It's very much a choking issue, very much a mentality issue, because if you look at the talent, it's certainly all there. As much as you may think Torji isn't that great of an AWPer, he's at worst the 6th best AWPer on the planet, and the gap between 6 and 4 in this conversation is minuscule. I don't even think it's that big to get up to number 3, so I don't think that's a big issue. Torji on the CT side is dynamic, active, productive. T-side woes maybe because of his weaker rifling, but all in all, more than good enough for this team to be winning titles. It's not a one-man talent issue. It's a multiplayer kind of mental breakdown issue. We've seen time and time again on the big stage that MOUZ have really struggled to play at their best. It's not a question of just always choking. We've had a couple series they've won big stages, but generally they aren't good enough relative to their own level when they get onto the big stage to win the big events. The primary focus of my concern on this roster has to be xertioN. My word, does this guy play important positions, high impact spots, high impact roles, and play them very well until he has to win a big game, at which point it just doesn't quite work. Now, they've won 2 series that I could find when I was looking through big events, 2 big event series in arenas where xertioN wasn't clearly a part of the win condition. One of them I can barely count in my own mind, and that's IEM Rio against Furia, where Furia completely crumbled. They were fraudulently there in the first place, just an absolute xertioN carry through a group stage, just to collapse historically on stage. It's really difficult to give them too much credit for that one. The other key series is the one I referenced earlier for MOUZ, and that's G2 in Cologne. Now, in this game, it was primarily the Torji and Yimfat show. Yimfat, especially on Dust 2, was an absolute monster, but this is not a frequent thing. Whilst Yimfat, I have dubbed him the new superstar, a new style emerging where you are very anchoring, very passive. In a meta full of very aggressive stars, his numbers are always going to look a little pedestrian, but realistically, what he enables for his team is what allows him to have superstar level impact. But generally, his fragging hasn't translated that much into big game wins. This is one of the few. Now, with these few examples to go off of, it's kind of tough to envision how exactly they're going to bounce back next year, but they again have the same opportunity G2 have. The early calendar, honestly, the majority of the calendar from March to June, at least so far that we've seen announced, seems very competitive with a lot of tight scheduling and overlapping events. There'll be opportunities here to go win. Add to that the fact that other teams will have to be embedding new players, still getting up to speed, up to game pace. It's one thing to do things in practice, it's another to communicate everything clearly with a new individual in a real match scenario. That's where we'll have to see those teams make the real adjustments. MOUZ Sports will have that edge. They're the same 5 they always were. They'll just have to put it together on the big stages, in the big moments. Otherwise, they'll just be another Pro League win, and I just don't care. It doesn't move me. When I get to the end of the year and I go through a player's achievements, a team's achievements, and I see Pro League champs, historically has been one of the emptiest titles to own. I'm just not that invested in MOUZ Sports winning Pro League. Now, xertioN plays at his group stage level in the majority of playoff series on big stages. They're probably going to come out of this with at least a couple significant pieces of silverware. And sure, for the MOUZ Sports org, being successful on the big stage may just lead to them losing more players and having to go through more player turnover. But maybe that prize money, that extra attention, maybe a few extra sponsors, allows them to offer more competitive salaries, and we no longer have to worry about MOUZ Sports rebuilding every 3 to 4 years. This could be the start of a MOUZ Sports era. This team making it work at such a young age, with a young coach who's been with them since day one. This could be the way forward for them. We'll see how it goes, though. Alright, if you enjoyed, leave a like, leave a comment, tell me your thoughts on these teams, these players. Sub if you want more content. And remember, members get access to a bunch more content, as well as the right to vote. Yeah, little special privileges. You'll find out all about it if you become a member. But alright, that's all for this one. Goodbye.